Welcome to Gossip About Gossip, powered by Hedera Hashgraph. In each episode, we'll cut through the hype of blockchain promises and explore real-world examples of organizations creating the next generation of decentralized applications, which will bring trust back to the internet for us all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Gossip About Gossip, the podcast where we talk about real-world applications of distributed ledger technology. As those of you who listen know, my name is Zenobia Godschalk, and I'm the SVP of Communications here at Swirlds Labs, helping to grow the Hedera ecosystem. Today, I am really excited to be joined by Matt Bailey, who is the CEO of GameOn. Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell our listeners, what is GameOn?
So at GameOn, we're a B2B game technology company. So we started off in traditional Web2 games about 5 years ago, building things like prediction games, fantasy games. So not AAA games, but games that are dependent on content like sports and live entertainment. And then over the last couple of years, we've taken a deep dive into Web3. So those same predictor fantasy type games and applying them to a Web3 space with playable NFTs. And that's what we're solely focusing on now is games as a vehicle to get more sports fans and TV fans and entertainment fans using blockchain in a way that they're familiar and comfortable with, which is games.
Yeah, and that's been sort of a little bit of a debate in the gaming industry, right? In terms of how do you make it something that's useful for the gamer, not just sort of using the gamer, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the problem that we identified and that I feel very strongly about is that, especially in sports and entertainment, the use of NFTs and blockchain hasn't had much true utility that truly taps into and fuels fandom. It's often, little utility, little differentiation. It might be just a moment. There's not much you can do with it long term. And more importantly, it's very hard for the everyday Web2 native sports fan to actually engage. The onboarding rails are really difficult. So we've set out to kind of make it an experience that they're comfortable and familiar with, not only through leveraging something like fantasy sports, which, sports fans and love and have endeared for decades and decades, but also making it really easy to get on board and play with things like credit card on rails and not having to bring a wallet. We'll create one for you. We won't even call it a wallet. We'll call it a locker room or a garage or, something that makes sense to them. I think it's really important to kind of leverage the benefits and the things like ownership and rewards and lead with that versus leading with the technical stuff, which, they might not understand.
Yeah. And so for someone who has been, a gamer a long time, and maybe a little bit weary, what can you, go into a little bit more? What are those benefits for them? What are they going to get that they weren't able to get in just a traditional Web2 experience?
Yeah, so let's use the Karate Combat partnership that we have as an example and Karateka, which is the project we're launching with Karate Combat. So in that example, we're going to be selling playable digital fighters. So every fighter in the Karate Combat League, you're going to be able to buy them. They'll be limited at 200 per fighter, but it will look and feel like the actual fighter that's fighting in the live events. With that playable digital fighter, notice we're not calling it an NFT. Of course, it is an NFT, but it's a playable digital fighter. You can gear it up, so you can buy gear like weapons and shorts and other different items that can not only change the look of your playable digital fighter, but give it an advantage in the games. So that ownership there and the ability to change the look and feel, but also change the power and how it performs in the games for you is something that blockchain can provide. And then being able to then go and use that in a fantasy game that gives you rewards based on the real-time events that are happening, while you're watching the stream is really unique. And that whole experience, we believe that blockchain and Web3 is the best technology to power it in the background. We just don't lead with that messaging. We lead with the benefits for the user. I like to use an analogy. There's a couple of analogies, but if you're from the technical world and you have a website and the user is going on your website, you don't stop them and say, "Hey, we're on AWS or we're using Google Cloud," because that would be weird. Like or in another example is if someone wants to use your bathroom at home, they don't ask what the pipes are made of. They just use the bathroom. So why are we leading with all this technical stuff in Web3? It's kind of a branding problem that Web3 has right now. And there's many ways to solve it, and there's many different ways to truly provide utility. We're choosing games, and other areas, I think, like loyalty and rewards for brands will be huge as well, which I know Hedera is doing a bunch of work in. But for us, we're creating that comfortable and familiar environment using games.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on, right? I mean, I do think with every technology evolution, you have early adopters who want to explain how it works, and then you have the other 95% of the population who just want to know that it works and why it works. They don't need to know how.
Yeah, and that first 5% are really important as well. You also don't want to alienate them. So, you still want to enable fans to be able to take that asset, that playable digital fighter, and move it to a different wallet or take it to OpenSea or another third-party marketplace or wherever they might want to take it. You still want to do that and not alienate them. And it is a bit of a balancing act and a fine line to kind of make sure that both of those groups you spoke about are serviced from the product.
Right. So let's go back a little bit in your history. You all, as an organization, have now decided, hey, we need this Web3 functionality within our games. We want to make this a richer experience for our customers. Can you take us back to how you, as a company, started that journey and then how that has progressed?
Yeah, I mean, we started off, as I mentioned, purely in building white label games. So we'd work with the likes of NBC Universal. We did a predictor game for the Real Housewives. We did a predictor game for the WNBA. We've done various different types of predictor and fantasy games. But our chief product officer a few years ago, who really built out our platform, just happened to come from Dapper Labs, where he was the head of sports there. He worked on CryptoKitties and NBA Top Shot. And he kind of, I think, started our Web3 journey and our thinking about Web3. I learned a lot from him. He's since moved on, but he's left his mark on our company, where we really decided to go all in on Web3 and focus on leveraging fantasy gaming, next generation fantasy gaming, to onboard the masses to Web3, because we really believe in the technology behind it. So I think that was the pivotal moment, and from there, we've hired Web3 centric developers, and we're really kind of all in on that. That Web2 only business, we still have it, and we can still service those partners, but really we're all in on Web3.
All right. And so tell us a little bit about how you got connected with Karate Combat and what you're doing there.
So we got connected to Karate Combat actually through a shared investor. They just closed a big $18 million round. So congrats to our friends over there at Karate Combat. But one of my first friends in New York City, when I moved there 10 years ago, I'm now in Miami, but when I moved there, one of my best friends who I met in that first year ended up giving us our first, I think it was $15,000 or $20,000 angel check when we started the company 5 years ago. And he's still a friend today, and he made that introduction to Karate Combat. He's like, "Hey, you have to meet these guys. There's something here." And I went to an event in Orlando last year, and I was blown away. I couldn't believe I didn't know that this league existed. And even between now and then, more and more people know the league and know who they are. And I think they're, from a branding standpoint, they've done a really great job of getting themselves out there over the last few years. But that was the connection. We hit it off the bat, and we pretty quickly did a deal and started working on the product. We just launched Karateka. We did the VIP kind of private pre-sale to our friends, investors, and early people in the community, and that sold out in about 2 weeks. The next opportunity to buy Karateka, thank you. The next opportunity to buy Karateka will be in and around the next Karate Combat event on May 20. We'll have a general open pre-sale for just a few days. So stay tuned to karateka.io and our social channels, and you can grab a Karateka right around that event.
All right. And the Karateka is, as you've talked about, it's that person who, in real life is actually competing.
Exactly. Yes, you won't know. It's an unrevealed NFT for now. You can buy Karateka. Then there will be the reveal in July, in early July, and at that point you'll know who you've received. Not only who you've received, but there's 200 of each fighter. They have different rarities, not only from a look and feel standpoint, but their abilities in the game. So you'll understand which Karateka you got, and then you'll be able to use it shortly after in the fantasy game. So.
All right. So, and this is, but this is by no means your first foray into Web3. We have been talking a lot over the last few months about, cross-chain capabilities. We are seeing projects sort of recognize, that to your earlier point, it is not about the underlying sort of single rail, but being compatible, working across chains. Can you talk a little bit about that journey and then sort of your experience working with Hedera?
Yeah, we've done various stuff. We've primarily built on Polygon and Hedera, and we're generally chain agnostic depending on the partner we're working with. So, we've worked with partners everything from a 10K collection called Chibi Dinos, which were one of our first that we worked with, and we did an NBA predictor game for them. We're now doing this with Karateka. We've got an equestrian partner where we're going to be doing similar. Instead of playable digital fighters, it's playable digital horses and riders. A basketball partner, instead it'll be playable digital ballers. So there's various partners we're working with, and depending on their wants and needs, we're choosing right now between either Polygon or Hedera, because our platform's built there, and we don't need to build from scratch. In some cases, we might actually split the collectibles across multi-chain if it makes sense for various reasons. So it's been great working with the Hedera team so far, and the foundation, similar to when we connected with Karate Combat and hit it off. When they introduced us to the Hedera Foundation and the broader team, we really hit it off as well. So we're in each other's Slack channels every day and chatting, and they're super helpful. So we're really excited to show the world what we've been building on Hedera over the next kind of coming months or two as we continue selling the Karatekas, but then launch the game shortly after.
Very exciting. And so, if you were to go back a few months and sort of tell your slightly younger self, what are a few things that you should know about building on Hedera, or any tips and tricks for others who might be a little bit further behind you in their journey?
Me from the business side, I would say, reach out and talk to people, learn as much as you can, and see what support you can get. I think one of the most underutilized tools in business is the cold email or the cold outreach or LinkedIn message or whatever it might be. So reach out, talk to people. You'll be surprised how many people are willing to help. Delon and Alex at Hedera, the foundation, have been incredible. I text them, I message them whenever I need something. They do the same to me. So I'd say just from that business standpoint, reach out and have a conversation. And we have similar relationships at Polygon, as I mentioned as well. And then I would say, from a technical standpoint, we'd have to bring on one of our engineers, one of our lead blockchain engineers, to really give you the technical feedback. But they're really excited from a technical standpoint, and we're also excited to be part of an up-and-coming organization that is trending on Twitter right now. More and more people are talking about it. That's what we're excited about with Karate Combat as well. And it's similar with Hedera, where we've been able to be one of the earlier fantasy game companies to get on board and start to build.
Fantastic. And I know you mentioned it earlier, where should people go if they want to check you guys out? What's the right place to send them?
Yeah, so if you're a league or IP or someone that we might work with you from a B2B standpoint, go to GameOn.app, or you can email me directly at matt@GameOn.app. If you're interested in the Karateka project, go to karateka.io and follow us across our socials. That's where we're announcing everything. That's when you'll learn more. You can join our Discord and all that kind of fun stuff. So stay tuned on the upcoming announcements and sale opportunities, and then maybe we catch up again in a few months when the game's live and we can actually do a bit of show and tell.
I would love that. We would love to have you back, Matt. It's been great to hear what you all are building. Thank you for taking the time and sharing that with our community today. And we definitely hope to hear from you again soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.